ask that you have some patience with me, because I was going to let it ride until some folks wanted to invoke my name, or my position, I should say.
We find ourselves, Mr. Speaker, at a crossroads wherein the chairman of the Privileges and Elections Committee thinks we're in Texas. Well, Dorothy, we're not in Kansas anymore, we're in Virginia. And this is subject to the laws of Virginia. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope you all enjoy this, but you are going to lose when it gets to a court of competent jurisdiction under the facts that he did not articulately or accurately go over a moment ago. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
So I just have a few things to say. But if anybody in this chamber or anywhere else wants to question whether or not I stand for Virginia, I have traced 10 generations back to the ugliness of the mid-Atlantic slave trade of my bloodline to Virginia. Through the Reconstruction era, through the white backlash of Jim Crow, through the civil rights era on whose shoulders I stand, to today. But I wasn't here to talk about history. It seems like the other side wants to go back to a certain date. I'm not sure how far back, but I definitely don't want to go 250 years back personally. But I am worried about the future. And so when we are looking at the future, I am hearing a deafening hypocrisy. Because now we're belittling what happens in other states. Oh, it's just Texas. Oh, it's just North Carolina. As if basic civics knowledge does not teach us that what happens on the federal level can impact everyone. Mr. Speaker, I have an example for you, okay? In 2024, as North Carolina was electing a Democratic governor, its legislature decided to go from 7 congressional members, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans, to 10-4. That gave them the 218 majority in the Congress. So you don't tell me that what happens in other states doesn't impact Virginia, because, Mr. Speaker, we know what they did with that majority. Some may call it the big, beautiful bill. I choose not to, but with H.R. 1, cuts to SNAP, cuts to Medicaid, letting health care tax credits expire so that health care is going to double and triple in cost to the families. And if you want to talk about rural Virginia, their hospitals might close because of this bill that happened because of a majority that was stolen on the backs of black North Carolinians. And you can shake your head, but you can also Google it for free. And all of these issues, Mr. Speaker, guaranteed back pay for federal workers, all of the issues that are being decided right now in this shutdown are because of a stolen majority. So what happens in other states matters. And I am very clear, because I've been here for 10 years, that if they had the majority, they'd be doing the same thing we are. So this feigned shock, this moral high ground that you think you have, why don't we direct that to South Carolina's lieutenant governor, who at hearing that the Voting Rights Act might drop said, if we could get a clean sweep, I would love that. Texas Republican State Representative Brian Harrison, one thing that the Democrats said is true, the stakes couldn't be higher. Like the future of the Republic, the future of America could quite literally be hanging in the balance, because if we have a margin in the U.S. Congress less than 5 seats, our redistricting efforts here could quite frankly control whether or not Congress in the upcoming midterms falls to the radical Democrat Party. Another one said, so Texas is going to do what's necessary for Texas to stay on board. I am very clear what Republican unity looks like. And because I follow some of you on Twitter, I have yet to see you say anything about what your president has done. So now we're supposed to believe that somehow you would find moral courage, Mr. Speaker. They would find moral courage in this important moment. So spare us the lectures. Representative Todd Hunter, I'm standing with Republican members. And what's wrong with Republicans standing up and Republicans stepping up and Republicans being honest? What you don't like, which is that the Supreme Court says we can use political and partisanship to do congressional redistricting. Shall I go on, Mr. Speaker? Because the state senator, one of my favorites of the quotes, Brendan Jones says, the motivation behind this new redistricting plan is straightforward. The new congressional map improves Republican political strength in eastern North Carolina. So while you were shaking your head when I said that, who lives in eastern North Carolina and was chopped up? Black people. Roll your eyes. Do what you got to do, but it's true. Then he goes on and says, simple and singular, draw a new map that will bring an additional Republican seat. As I close, Mr. Speaker. No, that's fine. It's fine.
The House will come to order. That's not necessary. Nobody interrupted anybody over here when y'all was making y'all speeches. Let's just stick with some decorum over here. I know y'all frustrated because y'all going to stay in the minority, but let's stick with some decorum. Thank you.
I just have a few more points, Mr. Speaker, and then we can go. I just want to remind the people that when they keep living in the past and keep bringing up the vote on the Redistricting Commission before, that was before the other states acted. That was before the current Supreme Court case of the Voting Rights Act. That was before all of these quotes. And as I said during the meeting, the east wing of the White House was still standing when that vote was taken. But times have changed very quickly. And if you really care about the voters as much as you claim, then why not send them an additional opportunity to have their voice be heard? And just, Mr. Speaker, I have to say this, because only one Republican that I have seen in the nation actually cop to the fact that he didn't like or didn't agree with what might have started in Texas. But then he invoked the Virginia way. And I know, as a student of history, that the Virginia way was once used to quiet dissent in the guise of decorum. But I'm living for the future, Mr. Speaker, and that's why new times and unprecedented times call for a new Virginia way. So we do have the opportunity to show what the nation, what we're made of in Virginia, and that's to get this resolution to the voters. So I will just say, as I said before, these power grabs in other states were directly at black districts. We cannot ignore the racial component of this. And so others may want to see their legislature look like the legislatures of Jim Crow. I do not. And if we're going to talk about the diversity and the beauty of this body, mostly on this side, then we need to preserve that. And I would ask that you would support House Joint Resolution 6007. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I want redistricting to reflect the will of the people, not the will of the majority party in the General Assembly. And that, Mr. Speaker, is what this constitutional amendment will do. If passed by Virginians in a very short session or a short opportunity for them to understand the implications of it, disenfranchisation will happen. There will be less voter turnout. And from the party that talks about voter suppression, this is a way to suppress the vote. This is not the Virginia way. We are a beacon. We're an example. We don't say, oh, well, this state is doing something that we don't agree with, so we're going to do the same thing. That's not the Virginia way. That's not what Virginians are about.
I want to talk about the Virginia way, but before I do, I want to remind y'all that, I started the word of the day, and it continues to be hypocrisy. For the other side to watch Glenn Youngkin purge voter rolls for the last 4 years, kicking people off the rolls, refusing to restore people's right to vote. And now y'all are the crusaders of the right to vote. That is the hypocrisy we've been seeing all year long. But hypocrisy is not the Virginia way. Like the delegate from Newport News, my family has been here for a long time, fought through many things. And the Virginia way to us means you stand up. It means you fight back. It means in the face of a mad king who is terrorizing Virginia schools, who is taking our jobs, who is harming our communities, that you would come to Richmond and do your job, Mr. Speaker. That's the Virginia way that I know. When I walk through these hallways and I look at these pictures of men, some honorable, some not, but one thing they had in common is they had the courage to stand up for Virginia and not make excuses, but put the decisions in the hands of the voters. And that's exactly what this resolution does. And Mr. Speaker, maybe that's what scares my colleagues. Maybe they think the folks in the 73rd District will look at them and their record and say, how is this serving me? When my hospitals are closing, when people who need food assistance are losing it and their representatives are doing and saying nothing. Maybe those folks in rural communities will have options to have folks who will vote and support them in having jobs and health care and even access to life-saving vaccines. So, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about the Virginia way, it means standing up. And I ask those who are like the men in the hallway to have the courage to do what is right and support this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Would the delegate rise for a series
I
of
yield,
questions?
Mr.
Thank you.
Speaker, but yes, I yield for a question. Yes.
So the delegate yield for a question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
You might want to give me an opportunity to intervene.
Thank you.
The delegate from Scott County, Delegate Kilgore.
You know, I'm reading and thank you for supplying me with the House Joint Resolution language over the weekend, but I'm reading it, and of course on this side we do not know what the process is going to be for the week. The first question I have, Mr. Speaker, it says a joint resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Virginia relating to reapportionment or redistricting may be offered. And the question I have, ladies and gentlemen, is such a reapportionment or redistricting resolution going to be offered during this session?
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Mr. Speaker, I respond that the plain language of the document is clear. It says what it says during this 2024 special session.
Further question, Mr. Speaker?
The delegate has the floor.
Just so we can make plans on this side of the aisle, could you walk me through the schedule for the week?
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The delegate will likely hear me move that we adjourn until Wednesday. That is my understanding when the committee will meet. That's the plan.
Okay. Further question?
Will the delegate entertain another question?
I will yield for another question.
So we will not be meeting tomorrow. Is that correct?
The delegate from Alexandria.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, that is, yes. Mr. Speaker, I respond to the delegate that we will not be meeting on Tuesday. That's not the plan.
Thank you.
The delegate from Chesapeake, Delegate Leftwich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I asked that the patron would yield for a question.
The delegate yield.
I yield, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate will yield.
So I wanted to start out with, there is a question here, Mr. Speaker, but I think I need to preface that with reading a statute that talks about adopting constitutional amendments. And it's Section 30-13 of the Code of Virginia. And it says, in addition to such duties as may be prescribed by the rules of the House of Delegates, the clerk of the House of Delegates shall, at the end of the session of the General Assembly, prepare a well-arranged index of the Journal of the House and the documents printed during the session by order of the House. He shall have published with the acts and joint resolutions proposing amendments to the Constitution. joint resolutions providing for studies for legislation of each session of the General Assembly, the unadjusted United States decennial census counts for the Commonwealth's counties, cities, and towns, and a carefully prepared and well-arranged index of the acts and joint resolutions. It goes on to say, Mr. Speaker, the Clerk of the House of Delegates shall have published all proposed amendments to the Constitution for the distribution from his office and to the Clerk of the Circuit Court of each county and city 2 copies of the proposed amendments, one of which shall be posted at the front door of the courthouse, and the other shall be made available for public inspection. Every clerk in the Circuit Court shall complete the posting required not later than 3 months prior to the next ensuing general election of the members of the House of Delegates, and shall certify such posting to the Clerk of the House of Delegates. The Clerk of House of Delegates shall report to the General Assembly at its next regular session the action taken by him under this section, including the costs incurred in the printing and distribution of the amendments. The report shall be published in the Journal of the House of Delegates. So, Mr. Speaker, with that backdrop, my first question to the patron would be, would the Clerk of the Circuit Court who posts a proposed constitutional amendment pursuant to this special session, which would be within 3 months of the next general election for the House of Delegates, be violating 30-13?
Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Alexandria, Delegate Herring.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would respond to the delegate that the code section that he read predates the 1971 Constitution, which does not have the requirement, and the legislature actually explicitly in the debate in the House intended to exclude those provisions. And our Constitution, Article 12, Section 1, does not have that requirement.
Okay. So, would the patron yield for a second question?
The delegate from Chesapeake, will the delegate yield?
So,
will the delegate yield?
I yield, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate has the floor. The delegate will yield.
So, if the General Assembly did not intend to follow the statute, why was this statute not repealed? And secondly, with the Clerk of the Circuit Court who fails to post the proposed constitutional amendment pursuant to this special session at all prior to the general election of the House of Delegates be violating this section?
Delegate from Fairfax.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate has the floor.
I thought that the delegate was yielding for questions about the procedural resolution. These questions seem to go far beyond the procedural resolution that's up for debate. Is this question in order?
The questions they're out of order. They're not germane to the procedural resolution. They may be in order later on down the road, but not now. The delegate from Buckingham, Delegate Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just curious if the patron would yield for a question.
Will the patron yield for a question?
I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Constitution of Virginia doesn't prohibit murder, but that's in the Code of Virginia, as is Section 30-13.
Point of order.
The delegate, the delegate is out of order. Do you have a question?
Absolutely. I'm curious how the clerks of the Court of the Commonwealth of Virginia are to comply with posting these 90 days before an election when they didn't know about it until far less than 90 days before an election.
The delegate is out of order. I just said that question is not germane to the procedural resolution that's before us. It may be relevant later, but it's not right now to the procedural resolution that is before us, whether we can adopt this language or not. Not the constitutional amendment that you want to talk about down the road. The delegate from Powhatan, Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak to the resolution.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So here we are, 8 days before Election Day, near the conclusion of our 46-day election season, sitting in Richmond. The purpose of this unprecedented special session during an election is to hitch Virginia, belatedly, to the pell-mell bandwagon to redistrict, or to speak more honestly, to gerrymander the Commonwealth's electoral districts. This session will shortly see, in fact now has seen, the preliminaries to an amendment proposed to abolish the nonpartisan Redistricting Commission process adopted by Virginians nearly 2-to-1 just 5 years ago. This amendment will be proposed by one party only, although candor requires admitting that this bad idea of mid-decade redistricting did get its 2025 launch by the president. However, just because a bad idea was proposed and even taken up by a few of our sister states such as North Carolina or California, is not a reason for Virginia to follow suit. For nearly 2.5 centuries, the states have redistricted following the decennial census, responding to the population shifts both in our country and in the states. Even this can be a confusing process for our citizens, as I'm sure many of you can attest from speaking to folks you represent. To give our imprimatur as Virginians to mid-decade changes can only dishearten citizens and heighten their cynicism about politics. Moreover, to do this means undoing this redistricting commission process that state voters approved by more than 65% of their ballots just 5 years ago. All this for a transparent political power play aimed at heightening one party's power. To see how this power play could work out, just take a look, for example, at Illinois. Illinois went 54% to 44% for Kamala Harris. That same election sent 14 of 17 Democrats to represent the state of Illinois. 82% of the representatives in the U.S. House of Representatives. How is that possible? It's possible only by trampling flagrantly on the principle of keeping communities of common interest together. It's done only by grotesquely misshapen districts that make Elbridge Gerry's Federalist salamander look positively symmetrical. To travel down this tortuous path is to transgress long-standing precedent in Virginia. It is to turn our backs on the Virginia way. It is to stride down a road of doubtful constitutional propriety with an election season well underway in which 900,000 Virginians have already voted. It's to embark on a scramble to cram a second legislative vote, a 90-day waiting period, a referendum, a primary, and a regular election, the last three all requiring 46 days, plus time for counting and certifying each process. In short, it is to belatedly attach Virginia to the tail of a bandwagon that is unworthy of her history and unworthy of this body's long heritage. Thank you.
Shall the resolution be agreed to? Clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 50, noes 42.
Ayes 50, noes 42. The resolution is agreed to.